Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? Here we are, another week, another edition of the show. This week, I have John Galm, who's been a part of some bands that you may have heard of before, but he just released another self-released album on Count Your Lucky Stars. And as a solo artist, I'm very happy to have him here. I'm also happy with the other things he's done in his past, but we'll get into everything today. But first thing I'm going to say is welcome to the show. Second thing I'm going to say is great fucking job on River of Blood.
Thank you. I wasn't sure. Okay. That's both. I'll take both of them. Thank you so much. And hello. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, so I started with that, and I want to dive, I'll go right into it. I know a lot of work goes into creating the album and all the songs and all the way the world works nowadays with having to put some songs out and then finally getting the full thing out. Now that it's out and out into the universe and it's had some time to sit for a little bit, how are you feeling about the release of the album?
Pretty good, which is not how I'm used to feeling at this point of like the juncture, you know?
Yeah.
Usually about 2 to 3 weeks into like, well, the record's out. I hate it. And I know, and, um, and, you know, a lot of times that's circumstantial, or it's because it's not getting sort of what I wished it would, um, or I just like, I'm here, you know, I'm hearing so many glaring mistakes that I made or that I wish I could change. But, River of Blood as a whole feels like a big, sort of a bit of a sea change for me, and sort of my approach to like a lot of different elements of my life. So, you know, it actually, it sat on the shelf for a year before it was completely finished, mixed, mastered, everything, for a year before it came out. And in that span of time, I never got sick of it. Um, and you know, I've been playing the songs now for about, you know, a year and a half, I'd say. I've been playing them live a ton and working on them a lot. And I still really like have a lot of care for them. And I'm not sick of them yet. Which is a really good feeling. It's sort of a new feeling for me.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's a great feeling to have, because a lot of times, I mean, when you are working on something for so long and it's sat there for so long, by the time it's out and you are playing them, I can understand where it's just like, I'm already sick of these songs.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people, especially, you know, folks that aren't uh, producing their own music and things like that, like they might not realize how much time there is between like, wow, I wrote a song, to like, and now this song's released on any sort of, you know, recording, or like, granted, you could totally just, I could go on GarageBand right now and make a funky drum loop and then just throw it up on Spotify within like a day.
Yeah.
But um you know, with things like vinyl pressing and just like other people's schedules for mixing and mastering and things like that, these things can, oh, and then like working with Count Your Lucky Stars, you know, they have their own schedule sort of internally. So it's like these things can take a really long time to see the light of day. It's not a very quick process anymore. There's a lot of sort of ins and outs. So it helps that like I'm not sick of it yet, because I do know I've known folks who are like, gosh, they waited so long to get their record out and they're so sick of it, but now it's the thing they need to play and they need to tour on it, and they're just like, God, I'm so sick of this thing.
Well,
Um,
I think some stuff that comes down to that too is like, I mean, you mentioned, you know, when you work with a label too, there's these, okay, we're planning on doing it at this time and the schedules. And, you know, I just recently worked with a band and it was, yeah, well, the label is looking to get it out in April. Then it's pushed to May. Then it's pushed to June. Then it's pushed to July. And I'm like, guys, it's coming out in July, whether you like it or not. Like, it's it's one of those things where it's like you just got to fucking, like, why are you sitting on it? Like, what is the? I never understood a lot of the times, like, what are you really looking for? The music, if it's good, will speak for itself. So get it out into the fucking world as fast as possible, as long as everything is finished in the way you wanted it to be done.
yeah, and that was that's certainly an approach I've always enjoyed, and uh, that's definitely how I've approached a lot of different projects. With this one, it was like, you know, getting a bit older and getting a bit further removed from like things of my past. It was really just like, I got to work with somebody who can at least, you know, make a few phone calls and be like, hey, this exists. Because I knew if I just sort of threw it on the internet, it would just sort of like the people in my direct periphery would be like, oh, John's got a new record. Like, you know, I'm talking like my cousin,
Yeah.
you know, um, but like I was hoping to maybe like get a little help uh further than my cousin, like my second or third cousin.
Yeah.
Um so that was sort of like, but yeah, that was why I decided, you know, I was like, well, I'm going to try and work with a label, and I want to just a little, like a little help getting a little more exposure for something I care about so much, you know? Um but also, yeah, there's something so satisfying if you have like just something like ready and raw and you're just like, fuck it, it's going online right now. Like, it's so nice. I used to do that a ton. And I did that like 2 years ago with just like an ambient record I made. I was just like, this can just go online. I don't need to talk about this at all.
And I loved it. I've shared that with people way back when it came out. If
Oh,
people don't
well.
know what it is, it's called "I Can Hear the Birds They Sing," and it's just like it's one of those like ambient things where it's like you have it on the background, and all of a sudden you just feel yourself almost like, I don't want to say fall asleep, but like you get this sinking, calming feeling where you're just like don't know what you were thinking about before.
Wow. That's such a nice, that's such a nice compliment. Thank you. I see. It's funny what you say that, because that's what my aim was. But now when I hear it, what I hear is, oh, this is way too busy. I need to, I need to strip it down even more. So, um, there's a very good chance that in the next 6 to, I don't know, probably 6 months, that I'll drop another one of those in the pretty much the same way that we're talking. And I my goal for it was just to really pare it down to almost like really start, really give you those senses of like lulling into sleep,
Well,
give you a lot more pause,
what I have to say though is like I think in like three short releases of of Sky of No Stars, and then I Can Hear the Birds and River of Blood, like you have Sky of No Stars is very stripped down, right? So like to
right?
me it's very stripped down. Then you have this thing where you say you think that there's too many layers to it, too much going on. I don't think there is. And then you get the River of Blood and it's like, okay, here's that production where it's everything is a little finite, and you said earlier that you can hear some mistakes that were in there, but like no one else fucking knows, just you, because it was your creation. But it's like it seems like there was the time generated, and like, okay, this needs to be like this needs to be perfect, and let's go do this. So like I think you like have three building blocks of that, especially when it comes to music, is awesome, because there's something out there for everyone. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like there's three completely different albums for someone to listen to by you. And it's just like, you can pull from so many different places to get fans to listen to those based on how they were recorded and released.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's a good way of looking at. See, I like this. You're very positive. Because the way I look at it is always sort of like the glass isn't even empty. It's just been smashed. And it's like pieces are scattered. Because there's this, I know, like, it might seem unfocused,
Yeah.
uh and when I think of something, like when I think all the way back to uh Sky No Stars, that came out in 2014. And I just hear the difficulty in my life that surrounds that record. So like in my head, at this point, it almost seems like this like irresponsible artifact to keep in public, where I'm just like, this person who made this is unwell and should not be celebrated. And because it's like they were a damage to themselves and others kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um
but I think it shows the maturity to where you are now, right? It shows the growth as a person, as an artist, to the point of where you are now, and maybe that can give hope to people, right? To see this maybe damaged soul to
yeah,
getting somewhere else, like that could be a learning thing for someone else. So
I think that's fair.
you got to
Yeah.
look at that's the way I would look at it. You talk smashing the glass. So I've always
Yeah.
approached, when people say sometimes I'm very positive about things, I go, listen, that whole glass half full analogy, I always say my glass has always had liquid in it, but there's a crack going down the seam, and I'm just holding that glass together.
You're just
Like,
holding it. Yeah.
I'm just holding it together so the liquid doesn't come out. I don't care if it's half full or half empty. I'm just making sure that liquid doesn't come out.
I like that. That's really neat. Um, and yeah, no, I think that's a really, you make a very good point. I think you know, examining where I was and how far I've come, uh, just through like musical osmosis is probably pretty interesting, and also helpful, hopefully, for someone else. You know, I for a long time I got very hung up on the fact that like, even I think when Sky of No Stars came out, I was in my late 20s, I think. Probably 27 or 28. And in my head I had already reached this point where it was like, oh, I'm too old to succeed. Like I am an ancient artifact. Because no one above the age of 25 does anything worthwhile. And so I had already sort of built myself up in this idea where I was like, I've already failed. There's no success here. And obviously I'm older than that now. And while I still do feel pangs of that, because I think that's just also just part of getting older, is you always like sort of the fleeting youth,
Yeah.
but it's like, well, no, I mean, you life is very different for a lot of people, and like it takes twists and turns that are very unexpected, and sometimes it takes someone a, a longer time to get to where they need to go. And I'm trying to tell myself that more so I don't, like continue this other line of thinking where I'm, just beating myself up for being old.
Yeah.
But like it's something I cannot control.
I completely understand it. And, I've had conversations with younger people about, I always say like life begins at 30, really, especially, when that's kind of when you start to find out who you are and what you could possibly do in life. I always think you're always rushing to get somewhere, especially like when you're in your teens and your 20s, you're always rushing to get to somewhere you think you're supposed to be.
Yes, 100%.
And until you get to where you actually should be, you're never really going to know that until all of a sudden everything works. And I look at myself and this is what I tell kids that come into our venue and our store is like, listen, I followed my dream at 48 and opened my record store and music venue. And I'm finally where I'm supposed to be. And that's fine. I'm on the down slope of life, really, if you do it, when you look at the age of how long men live, I'm on the downside.
Right.
But I finally found where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was finally really because I was like, I bet on myself and followed my dream. And that's okay. And, I look at success different than other people do. Some people look at success as having material things and having money and all this. I look at success as how many people have come into my life and are staying in my life and that I can help make a difference in. That's my success. To somebody else, it's completely different. So like, don't rush to get somewhere. You'll eventually find where you're supposed to be. And when you get there, enjoy that fucking moment.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think I definitely grew up with sort of an understanding that like, not so much material possessions or like comforts are important, but just the general idea of like, financial stability above all else kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I definitely, I had a very hard time. I don't know if you know this, but like music is not necessarily the most stable
I know
form of commerce,
I know it all too well. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't start my venture to retire fast and rich.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
But
the love of it.
So, but a large part of like my, becoming a young adult and like going through college and even as early as getting out of high school was like, well, I know what I care about and I know what I'm passionate about, which is playing music, but I'm basically being told by like the influences around me that like that can't be the thing I care about. I need to pick something else like that will basically like put my 2 feet firmly on the ground. And so yeah, I spent many years trying, almost like running away from this idea that like I can't care about this. Like I can do it and I can enjoy it and it can be like a hobby, but it can't be my passion. I have to find something else. And the fact, and like getting into my 30s, almost like feeling shame at the fact that I hadn't figured it out, and that I was still just like, if it worked tomorrow, the only thing I would ever do again would be make records and tour. Like, and just recently, I feel like within the last maybe couple of years, I've sort of hit a point in my brain where it's like, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
like it's like you have to have, I understand now as an adult, I have certain obligations and things like that, but like, I'm allowing myself maybe for the first time in my life to be like, no, this is my focus. This is the thing I care the most about. And this is like what I want to be doing. And I don't have a lot of time on this earth. Most people don't, you know? So it's like, I might as well do what I want as opposed to other things. You know, there's nothing, if I'm a, I would talk to my therapist a lot about it, how I'd just be like, if I died tomorrow and like I had like a deathbed moment, I'd be so pissed because my life feels so unfulfilled. And like, that's just such a horrible feeling.
It's a horrible way to think too, you know, and I mean that we can totally dive in and get deep on this stuff here, and especially surrounding music and everything. I mean, I think you've lived to this moment, especially with the music that you've released. Like you've lived a fulfilled life. You've made a difference in people's lives, whether or not someone has had the opportunity to tell you that, or whether or not you've got to read fan mail or anything you think you were supposed to accomplish. Whether you like it or not, you accomplished something, and that was getting your art and your words and your soul out into the universe. And many people don't have that opportunity. Okay. They just don't. You know, many
Yeah.
people are scared and they keep to themselves and they don't open themselves up to ridicule and things like that. And as an artist, and you know, the bands you've been in and the solo stuff you put out, you've opened yourself up to that. And many people in the world, when you really break it down, not a lot of people have ever done that. So that's something you should be proud of. You know,
Can I tell you something that's downright serious, like dead serious?
Okay.
Someone recently, within the last, again, like probably 2 years, had to point out to me the fact that not everyone wants to do this. Not everyone wants to be a musician. Not everyone wants to put out records. Not everyone wants to be in entertainment, I'll say. And I couldn't believe it. Like and I'm talking like I'm in my, you know, I'm in my 30s at this point, and I was just like, it had never occurred to me that this wasn't everyone's goal. Even people that make music, this isn't their goal.
Yeah.
You know, some people just love playing guitar. Some people want to be in a wedding band and that's it. Some people want to play piano with their grandson. Like, I don't know. But in my head, I was like, everyone is striving for this same sort of thing where creativity is the main driver of their life. And I had to be told, John, no, that's not true. But in my head, it's such a basic necessity that it was like, well, yeah, of course it's a basic necessity for everybody. It's like, well, no, not everyone's like this. Some people think differently, John.
Yeah.
But it really put that exactly what you were saying into perspective, where it's like, I've always had this drive to produce things and show people and get them out in the open. Like, I've always wanted to be in a band. I've always wanted to play shows. I've always wanted to perform for people. And even as a very shy, anxiety-ridden person, since I was a young kid, like, it's almost been like a complete non-negotiable. Like, it's like, yeah, I have all these things. And if you ask me to public speak, it's a nightmare. But for some reason, if you put a guitar in my hand, I can get through it. And in fact, sometimes I downright enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
It's very convenient. My public speaking class in college, because they made everyone take public speaking. I don't know why. For 2 different projects that we had, or whatever you want to call them, 2 assignments, I sang songs instead of like giving full speeches, because I was just like, this is much easier for me.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Now I want to go into that that shy kid that you just brought up.
Sure.
You know, when did, and this isn't a full therapy session, but we're hoping like maybe we pull some some positivity out of what we're doing here. But you know, for me, I remember the moment when I was a child and I heard something that completely made me realize that music was going to be probably the only constant in my life until the day I die.
Huh.
Like when you were a child, how did music kind of come into your life and grab a hold of you? Like, do you have a first musical memory of like the first thing you heard as a kid that you remember and kind of led you down a path?
Yeah. I do. And you know, this is something that, uh, it's almost like a more recent rediscovery where, I seem to be doing a lot of that, it seems. But my, my dad used to sing to us at night. Uh, he played guitar, and in fact, I have his guitar. It's actually at my mom's currently, but needs some work done. But at night, if we, you know, before we went to bed, or sometimes, and this is more my memory, where it's like if we couldn't sleep, like we'd wake up from a bad dream, or like you know, I've always been a terrible sleeper. Um, and which is funny now because I nap all the time, but at night I can't really sleep at night. I get very freaked out about the idea of sleep. But my dad would, I'd sit on his lap and he'd play guitar. And I think the first song that I ever really noticed that I knew was Sweet Baby James by
James Taylor.
James Taylor.
Yeah.
And he would sing that to us at night. And it's the type of thing that I didn't, I sort of put that memory away, you know? Uh, and then with, you know, a couple of years ago, I just sort of remembered like, oh yeah, dad used to sing this to us. And I put it on like, you know, just like found it on Spotify and threw it on. And within like 3 seconds, I'm weeping, like just thinking of how sweet that memory is. And just how hearing these words that I've like, are like instilled into my brain, you know, like grafted. Um, and it's such a beautiful song to begin with. I mean, like, so that was really, my dad also had such a lovely quality to his voice, and I loved hearing him sing. It's the only thing I liked about going to church, is that I got to hear my dad sing. Um, he would do the old Catholic dad at church, like
Yeah.
really nudge you to sing too.
Yep.
But I was too shy to do it there. I hated singing at church, but I loved hearing him sing, and he would do it without any problem. He had just such a lovely quality to his voice. That is something that like I think about now as I do this more. Like I hope there are elements actually of like my voice that like can come through to other people where they're like, wow, he has a nice quality in his voice or something like that. It's like that same sort of feeling that I would get hearing him. Granted, it was my dad, so I know it's a little different, but he had such a beautiful voice.
Wow. See, it's a great memory.
Yeah.
And, you know, from there spawning on to like the next step in the evolution of your life with music, like your dad playing to you, when did you start to find your own way into music? You know, church,
Yeah.
you know, I know church was big for a lot of people. I mean, I always like when it comes down to it, I say to people, I'm like, listen, the best thing about church, and this is me being just a cynical asshole, the best thing ever to come out of church is all the musicians. I go,
Yeah.
is really all it is.
I that makes a lot of sense. As a Catholic, there's not a huge like, I mean, you got the guy playing the organ and you have the cantor doing the bad like you know, prayer saying kind of thing. Not a rich tradition of quality music.
Yeah.
But no, we always listened to the radio and things like that. Like music was always very, very prevalent in our family. And I remember sort of feeling very like realizing very young that I loved music, but that the music that I would hear on the radio and the music that I would hear from my parents wasn't mine necessarily.
Yep.
And I couldn't figure out what mine was. And we had my, you know, we lived in suburban Pennsylvania, and 2 houses up was the Zapp family, and Brent was older than my brother, my brother's a year older than me, basically. Brent's about a year older than my brother. We would all hang out. And then Brent had 2 older sisters, and they got into punk. And through osmosis, Brent got into punk. And then through osmosis, we got into punk. And there were like the first punk bands I heard were like the local ones around here, which are Digger was a big one.
Digger, which was spawned off from Weston, right?
Yes. And Weston is the other one.
Yeah.
Digger, but hearing specifically, I remember hearing I Want My Hat Back by Digger in Brent's living room, probably when I was, gosh, I don't even know how old I was. I don't know when that would have come out. Like, I have the internet at my fingertips. Like
probably 94, 95, 95 or 96, I'm thinking.
Digger Power Bait came out in 96. So I would have been, probably when I'm hearing this, I would have been 10 or 11 years old. And just immediate, like, bolt of lightning, like, just the energy and the sort of, like, you know, it's you're hearing something for the first time that is like unlike anything you've ever heard. Like, I've heard rock songs before, but not like that, you know? And so, but then, you know, it's funny, like, hearing it and then being like, wow, this is like incredible. And then pretty much immediately being like, being told by my parents, like, you can't listen to stuff like that. Like, that's too mature and you're too young. So then having basically like learning about that style of music through like the weird osmosis of like going to your neighbor's house and listening to it there. And like, you know, my cousin eventually started dating a guy who played drums in a punk band. This probably was when I was like 12, I'd say. They'd pick us up, me and my brother and my sister, on like a Friday night, and we just drive around. He had like a big old caddy with like a huge sound system, just blasting like
that shook the trunk.
Yeah, that shook the earth. Like, just blasting, you know, like at that time he was really into like Lookout Records. Yeah. So it was like Screeching Weasel and the Queers and the Mr. T Experience, and just like hearing stuff like that for the first time, just being like, this is insane. Like, this is like crazy rock and roll that like, it just feels so like young and primal in a way that like classic rock on the radio did not. Or like,
I'm basically in that same car with you, right? Like, that was mine too. Like, I grew up and I think a lot of, and I'm not going to say I know for a fact a lot of parents were very scared of that stuff. And looking back on it and then explaining to people, like, the number one thing that style of music, like punk, did not breed what everybody thought it did, which was, you know, everybody already had teenage angst. You already had that within every child at the time, and it didn't make you more violent. It didn't lead you to drugs. What it actually did was it brought you closer to people, and it created a community for yourself that you never thought you would belong to. Like, you thought you were an outcast, and you finally found your tribe, right? And you finally found acceptance. And that's what that style of music did. Like, you know, those bands that you just named, saw all of them in either, you know, a Masonic temple or a VFW or,
absolutely.
You know, like all of them. And it was, you know, you'd come home and your parents be like, well, where were you? I was like, and I mean, I probably saw Weston, like, you know, I'm a suburban New Jersey kid, and I was like, yeah.
Right. So you saw Weston a million times.
Yeah, a million times. And it's like, you know, I still have my original Just Like Kurt vinyl, and I still throw it on every couple months. I throw it back on to bring me back to that moment when I first saw it. But then one thing it did, and I still have the friends to this day, you know, 35 years later, I still have those same friends that I met because of the music I listened to. And that, to me, is really what was the important part. And of course, the parents didn't you know, Will Smith said it best. Parents just don't understand.
They just don't, you know?
But I mean, it really was this amazing feeling to finally find yourself with something and someone else doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. I mean, outside of, especially as I got older then, and, you know, I started going to shows of my own and on my own. And, you know, realizing like I'd go to high school and I'd feel very isolated, but I knew that come weekends I had so many friends, you know, and I had so many like people that loved to see me and hang out, and they were at the show, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's just like you know, it's I remember being younger and someone telling me like, oh, well, high school and college, those are the best days of your life. And those are the friends you're going to have for the rest of your life. And I was like, I mean, time frame maybe, but like actual location, no. I mean, all my friends from back then, I have a couple that I grew up with, but like the majority of them that are still in my life are people that I met through this thing that we do.
Yeah.
And it's because we, at an early age, realized that we share this common bond of, you know, caring about this world of music, this strange world of music that is thrilling. And I don't know.
That's what I think the best part about music is. And I've said it here many times, and I'll continue to say it. If we could just all go meet people at a concert that we're at and talk to each other about what we're, you know, it invokes this feeling in you where you kind of like the shield comes down because you know that you're all there for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my saying is when you're at a concert, you're not there with 500 strangers. You're there with 500 friends you just haven't met yet, because you'll find out through the music that you're all there to listen to, and the artistry, and what it's really going to tell you and pull from you is that the differences you may think you have from the person you're standing next to are infinite in the commonalities that you have with them.
Mm.
You know, there you'll find out you have so much more in common than just the one thing that you disagree on, which may be, you know, the big three: the sex, religion, and politics. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you can actually be a better person and get along with people if music's always involved. That's just my theory and old man on life thing, but that's just how I feel. I've met so many people that I probably never would have met in, you know, different sides of the tracks that you grow up on, and like,
Right.
but we find out we have so much more in common than the differences that we have. So
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of systems in place in this world to separate people, you know, and I think that something like a music scene, in a lot of ways, can be a great equalizer, you know, because pretty much the only admittance at the door for a lot of them, especially when I was younger, was just like, are you an asshole? No. Are you here for the music? Yes. Okay, cool.
yeah,
That's it. That's all we need. And you know, just sort of like, I've undoubtedly met, you know, thousands of people that I would have never met, that whose like, you know, whose lives and whose cultures and whose like just sheer being, I from being from suburban Pennsylvania would have no way of understanding or hearing about or fundamentally grasping. That now it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. I think it's a really good way to learn empathy. You know,
yeah, without a doubt.
It's a wonderful thing. Local music communities and things like that.
Now, how old were you when you know, started to play music?
Oh yeah, probably. I think I started playing guitar when I was like 13. My parents gave up on me athletically. My brother and sister both played sports throughout high school. I made it very clear very quickly that I had no interest, but they still wanted me to have an activity. And eventually, I think my dad was just like, would you rather play guitar than baseball or something? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yes. So I started taking lessons from a local person. And then after a while, just through scheduling, I got different lessons, but like I took guitar lessons for about 5 years, probably. Never got much better than, I from the very beginning, I was very focused on, writing songs very quickly. So like,
Do you remember the name of the first song you ever wrote?
oh, the Michelle song.
Huh?
Unless we're talking when I was a young kid, I wrote lyrics to a song called "Get Out of My Face." That was My
All right.
sister had the game Pretty Pretty Princess. Do you remember Pretty?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I put on all of the things, all the rings, all the necklaces. We had just heard about Twisted Sister, um, and I was like, "Wow, this is like provocative," as a child. Uh, so I put on all the things from Pretty Pretty Princess, and I had a song called "Get Out of My Face," uh, in the perfect place where I can't see you. Great kid lyrics.
Great.
Yeah. But no, then my first song was that I actually could play guitar was called the Michelle song. It was like I learned a C chord, and I wonder if I can. Oh, this none of these guitars are in standard tuning. Fuck. I have like 4 guitars around me, and none of them are what I need them to be in. But yeah, it was just like I learned a C and probably like an F and a G, and that's probably every chord in the song. There might be maybe an A minor in there, and yeah, pretty much as soon as I learned how to figure out like the first couple chords, I was just that was my main focus was
Right.
songwriting. Yeah.
Now, did you search out like other people that were trying to create music too and like form a band right away? Because I know as a kid, when you find music, I mean, you're trying to find other people. And my thing was when you're trying to find other people creating music, you spend more time drawing out your logo and figuring out the band name before you even start playing together.
Oh, 100%. We had a full set list of covers we were going to play before any of us knew how to play anything.
What did you name your band? What was the very first name of that very first band?
What was the? I don't remember what the name of that one was. That one didn't really last. That one, I remember at one point, uh, we borrowed a guitar and an amp from a kid and carried it across town back to my friend Kevin, who was the drummer. He had gotten a drum set, so we carried the guitar and amp back to his house. And when we got there, that's when I realized I don't know how to play guitar. So we're talking like pre 13, probably like 12. I hadn't started taking lessons yet, so I really had no idea what I was doing. I don't remember what that one was called. Obviously, it didn't last much longer than that. The first one we really had was Nonsense. That was me and my friend Danny, and I forget who played bass. Maybe Kevin Kish. I think Kevin Kish played. You can blur his name. Sorry to dox Kevin. Um, but we all rode BMX together. That was like the other kid thing, Everyone had a BMX bike, and we would do tricks in the woods, kind of thing. So Danny became a drummer. He found a drum set somewhere, and I had started playing guitar. I had a little amp, and you know, we started writing songs together, and we were terrible. But like that's kind of the point. I mean, when you're like 13, 14, like it was just so much fun. But I remember people would come hear us and be like, "You're not very good," and I'd be like, "No, you're crazy. We're great." Um, we weren't very good. I remember I took a lot of offense. People would be like, especially critical of my singing, and I was like, "No, I can sing." It's like, in hindsight, I didn't know what I was doing. Um, but yeah, hours and hours and hours of just like making so much racket in Dan's bedroom. Just a wonderful time. Great kid activity. Every kid should have a band that wants a band.
Yeah. So from that first band to now, I want to get to this. Is one of my favorite questions I get to ask through things that you've done in your life, and let's stick to your solo stuff right now. But if no one ever heard any of your music or any of your creations, and you told them that you're a musical artist and you make music, and you could only play them one song of yours, that would basically it's like that first impression. You want to make a good first impression. What song of yours would you play for them?
Oh God, that's a really good question. I don't. I think it would have to be. I'm just going through the reams of all the things. It's such a corny answer. I am just so proud of the new record. And I feel like it's some of the, as a whole, I feel like what I've been telling the people around me is that, I've tried on a lot of hats, you know, and I've tried to be other people within music, before. I've always sort of let my, like, my influences, ride out a little more. You can see me in the picture a bit more than I ever thought you could, kind of thing. Um, like I thought maybe I was hiding better than I was, but it's like, nope, nope, that's Sean. But I feel like River of Blood as a whole is the most me record that I've ever made.
Okay, but you got to give me one song.
No, I know.
Okay.
I'm getting there.
All right.
This is the preamble.
Oh.
So what I'm saying is it would have to be a song on River of Blood, and then if I had to choose a song on River of Blood, I think I'd go with Darktown. Yeah, I think I'd go with Darktown.
It's different than what I chose to play from.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, at first I was going to say River of Blood because it's the longest and it gets the most, most bang for your buck.
Yeah.
But
now, would you say that's your favorite song you think you've ever released?
No, but I could tell you very easily some of my least favorite songs that I've released, but I can't tell you my favorites. They change on a daily basis. And sometimes I'll be really proud of something, and then 2 days later I'll hear it again and I'll be like, never mind. I'm a very fickle self-editor with a lot of opinions about my own things. So, but I love that song, and I think lyrically and just tonally, and the guitar playing, I I just really I'm very proud of the construction of that one. Uh, a lot of things on this record just felt like they worked. Like as I was creating these worlds, these songs all exist sort of in these worlds, and as I was creating them, the pieces were coming into place in ways that were very satisfying. And I feel like Darktown represents that tenfold. There are moments on that where I'm just like, I'm not sure. I don't know how I did a lot of the things, because I just sort of I did so much work on them, sort of like I would work for hours and hours just like tinkering with like tones on keyboards, and I spent hours recording guitar and basically being like, no, this needs to be an inch to the right. The microphone needs to be an inch to the right, and then re-recording, and then being like, actually, I need to be an inch to the right. And then like, it's just so much struggle, but also finding what you're looking for in it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just struggle and then it's over. But this was like struggle and achieving the goal. Oh, excuse me, I sneezed.
Bless you.
Thank you. I tried to hit the mute button and didn't work.
Now, you, with all your solo stuff, I mean, if
Sure.
you could talk about it or you don't want to, you were part of, a pretty influential band
Yeah.
for a period of time called Snowing. And
I was, damn it. I was going to say, yes, I was in the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
yes. But I mean, it's one of those things where no one appreciates certain things until they go away, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those bands that I think by the time everybody found them, it was already dissolved. And you've continued to create music. You've continued, I believe, to have, by just watching some of the things that you can see online and everything, still keeping fans from who have maybe found you during that or after that. And, for a part of your life and being able to go out and tour and play and do things like that, there are usually a couple moments that I like to pick out of here. A good moment from a live performance and a horrible moment that you'll never forget about because it occupies this. Because I can tell we're kind of simpatico with a lot of our thinking, where it's really hard to get rid of certain thoughts in your head, but
Mm-hmm.
it's something that pops up when you least want it to. But it's this like, fuck, that was fucking terrible moment of performance somewhere.
Strictly with Snowing, or just in?
Yeah, just in general. But
Just in general.
I figured, you traveled a lot probably doing with Snowing and solo stuff as well. But
Yeah, I mean, God, it's funny. There have been so many, trust me, there are some bad moments. But it's almost hard to, I'm sure I can pick one. Um, I've had so many. What I'm struggling to get to here is that, for someone who's as negative and can be very hard on myself, especially after a performance, I've had some really rough nights. I, I, I've had a couple shows recently where I've been really, pretty miserable later that evening / the next day, kind of thing, about how things went, how the shows themselves did, feeling like I'm not connecting with people or getting my music to the right audience or whatever. I don't know. But I have so many moments that I just like, you said that, and a flood of positive memories came back to me, like, of just playing just over and over and over again, just like really wonderful shows, both with Snowing as a solo artist, with other bands I've been in. And I think that, and I will pick one, but I think that's part of this thing where at the end of the day, I really just, I know what I love, and I know performing is a big part of that. And, honoring that now as someone who's sort of like finally for the first time letting themselves feel good about this like genuinely good about the love I have for performing and for playing music for people is it's just neat. I don't know. But let me pick one. I once played what I thought was going to be one of the scariest nights of my life. I went on a tour once. When Sky No Stars came out, I did a 3+ week solo run, just me and my Kia. It was in the middle of February, and everywhere I drove to, it was snowing profusely, including Texas. I woke up in Texas to 6 inches of snow on the ground, and the crazy thing about Texas is within an hour the sun came out and it was all gone. It was so fucked up. It was fucked up to see the snow, and then it was fucked up that it was gone so quickly. But I got booked in Lafayette, Louisiana, and I was like, I got to the bar where the show was, and I was like, I'm going to die here. Like, it was legitimately like I felt so scared because it was just a very regular Southern bar, you know? And like I walked in and nobody looked like me. And I was very intimidated very quickly. And then, I think when I have these memories of when the first group even played, like they didn't even turn like the overhead like sound off. Like they still had like other music or like other TV blaring over the first band. I may just be making that up, but when I got up to play, everyone sat so close. Everyone that was there for the show sat so close to me, and I could see it in their faces immediately how present everyone was. And I suddenly felt like I was like, oh my God, I'm in like basically like a force field of good feelings. And I got to play my songs to these these wonderful people who came out to see it, and in this sort of like terrible environment for a show like this, where I'm spilling my guts and I'm playing these incredibly sad songs, and then the night ends and it spills out. We all just immediately go out into the parking lot, and I'm giving people hugs, and I'm chatting with so many just wonderful people, and it just went from being like, wow, this is going to be like the scariest night of my life to becoming one of like just
a
this
vampire, like in From Dusk Till Dawn bar. Like,
yeah, honestly, yes, 100, yes, like really, really, just like I'm not. I had my fingernails painted. This was 2015, and as I was walking into the bathroom, a man stopped me and was like, "Why do you have your fingernails painted?" And I was like, "Oh boy,
that's I have a condition. They're not painted.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I should have said."
yeah, I have a
But
condition.
I was just like, this is a bad scene for me. But it turned out to be one of my favorite shows.
That's awesome.
It was just, and there are a lot of nights like that where it's like, this isn't going to be much. This isn't good. And it's so easy to be negative about a lot of these things. But the positives really do shine through sometimes in the least expected moments, in the strangest ways. Worst, played some real bad shows lately. I can't, I don't want to throw anything under the bus. I don't know who's listening. Just, there's a thing that I found, which is, I think people think that X snowing carries weight that will help promote a show, maybe even in lieu of promotion, and it doesn't. And a lot of times what I found is that when people are sort of introduced to me as like, this is the guy from Snowing playing acoustic, they think, oh, I can't wait to hear him play Pump Fake acoustic. And then they get there and they hear the songs I play and they go, this isn't what I wanted. So that's been happening quite a bit, or has happened in the past. And it's always very, very discouraging. I will say, oh, you know what? Okay. No, wait, can we go off? Can we go off for a second? I can't, man, I can't do it. There's just I have like some really horrible bad ones, but they're definitely people who like might hear this or it might get back to them because they're so recent, but they're so bad. I'm telling you this, Shane, as like off. This is off the record somehow. I don't know if it can be, but like I really want to tell you about the disgusting house show I played in Ohio.
All right, listen. How about when we hit stop record for my ears only? So you don't have to do it. So the theory behind the bringing down a little bit is because I have two like tough questions toward the end here that like it brings it down.
Oh, okay.
So that's why
Man.
I usually go from one bad thing to the next bad thing to the next bad thing, because I want people to understand that we're all human and everything can't always be positive. So we've all had
Sure.
some tough moments. So I'll move on to my next question. And
Okay.
the world's going to end in 5 minutes, meteors hurling into the earth, and you have to listen to one song and one song only. What are you listening to? I think I know it.
You think you know what it is?
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't think you do.
Probably not, but I thought I would.
Did you think it would be "We'll Meet Again" by Vera Lynn?
No, but
good
answer. Yeah, I was going with "Sweet Baby James," but
that's interesting. So okay,
yeah,
that's what we call in the biz a callback. No, actually, but it is. My real answer is related again to my dad. His favorite artist was Tom Waits, and it's an artist that only in the last couple of years of his life I learned to appreciate. When I was a kid and he would put on Tom Waits in the car, first of all, it was like, don't let your mother know you're listening to this.
Well, honestly, a lot of that early Tom Waits stuff, no one should be listening to anyway. I mean, as a love his lyrics, but I mean, it's just like, some of his stuff is just brutal.
Yeah. And so my dad liked it all, but he loved the weird shit. He loved like the Island Records, like the Swordfish Trombone through, Bone Machine.
Yeah.
Like he ate it up. But yeah, no, the second to last track on Mule Variations is called Take It With Me. And it is just, it's the most beautifully haunting, precious song. It was the song that I connected with my dad before he passed. And it only became sort of ever more solidified, knowing how much he cared about it and knowing how much I care. Like, you just hear the opening chords and they're so dissonant, yet so beautiful. There's like a tinge of reverb on there, and it's just Tom and the piano, and it's gorgeous. And for many years, my dad's been gone 21 years now. Just the anniversary just hit, which is crazy because that's longer than, I mean, he died when I was 17, and it had such a massive sort of transformative effect on my life.
Well, yeah, I mean, at that age, I mean, you're thinking life's beginning, right?
Yeah. So, and some people, I understand many people have very different relationships with parents. Like, I was very much like, my dad was my best friend, and he was like the light that I would like look to.
Yeah.
And yeah, for a lot of years on the anniversary of his death, I would go to visit him, and I would, before I would leave, we would listen to Take It With Me. That was sort of a thing that I would do. Last year I actually played him Let Me Love You off my new record. And as I started doing it, like as soon as the vocals kicked in, all of a sudden this like incredible like wind came from nowhere and was just like battering me.
Signs, man.
And I was just like, and it went for like, it went for a while, and then it was done, and it was gone. And that was, it's
a spirituality that surrounds us. There's those moments where, it's happened to me. I unfortunately lost my sister, and it's like there's certain things. She was my first concert buddy. She was like, I built a lounge in our venue dedicated to her, so she always has a front row seat to every show. But it's like the moment you kind of think you're maybe not thinking about them when you should, or something, like her favorite song will pop up, like
Yeah.
just out of nowhere. Like it just all of a sudden is on. And like, or, you know, my thing with her too was like the butterflies were her, she loved butterflies. And like, you just be going for a walk and there's nothing going on. There's not a cloud in the sky. You can't hear a bird chirp, and all of a sudden this butterfly flies right past me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, motherfucker. I'm like, how you doing?
They let you know that they're there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
when it's when you need it sometimes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, I mean, take it with you. This is another downtrodden question, but there's look at it like this. Your house is burning to the ground. All living things make it out safely. You have time to run back in for one more thing that is musically, that you love musically. It could be a record, a CD, it's an instrument, a poster, t-shirt, something, but you can only grab one thing running back out of that house. What are you grabbing?
Well, luckily, like I said, the guitar
is at your mom's house.
Is at my mom's house, so I don't have to grab that. The loophole. I honestly, about a year ago, I bought I had like all of River of Blood was recorded using a student-sized nylon string guitar. I love the way a nylon string sounded, and I always wanted to use it and just own one. And but it just never really fit my vibe. And then suddenly I get this tiny guy, and I'm like, oh, all these songs are flowing through it. And it was very important to me. But then I tried to use it playing out live, and it was impossible. There's just no way to do it. You can't mic it. You can't. It's tough. So I went out and I spent some money, and I bought myself a proper nylon string that has like a built-in pickup. And I got to tell you, when I first got it, I was like, I hate this. I hate how it feels. None of this feels good. But now I played a lot of shows this past year, and it's the guitar I've been playing. And I've come to like, it's becoming like my right-hand man. Like it feels so good to play it. And I feel so confident playing it that it's what I foresee myself playing for, the next many years of my life. So it would be that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
You grew into it,
Yes. I think that's what I needed. I think, so often in life I am looking, or like my sort of thought processes were always just like looking for the exact perfect thing.
Yeah.
If it wasn't exactly perfect, I was like, oh, it's a failure. It's a failure.
Yeah. Well, the world we live in now, like you can be uncomfortable and you just remove yourself, or you turn it off, or Alexa skip, like you can, that's the type of things. And I think that's where a lot of times now where we are as a whole, as a society, like when you're uncomfortable, like people just fucking back down and move away and move on to something else instead of like,
right,
let me figure this out.
Yeah.
See if it can really work.
It's the instant gratification.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much lately I've been letting myself grow into things, and that's sort of a new process for me. And over the last, I'd say, like, COVID got dark, as it did for everyone, and then coming out of that, just like making some life changes and some like, finally breaking some patterns and that like have been holding me back. And one of the things that I've been trying to do since then is really just like, don't overreact right away. Settle in. Yeah. Feel like, let things grow, let things progress. Which is something I'm, again, bringing it all back. It's something I've been doing with this record, where it's like, I think the way that the internet works now, it's like if it's really easy to get discouraged when you put a record out on a Friday and you're one of thousands upon thousands of things that are getting released on Bandcamp or on just directly onto streaming. Or so, even within your direct bubble, it can get swallowed up and disappear very quickly.
Very quickly. It's such a shame.
It is. It really is.
It's so hard. And I think I do believe that I am starting to see some positives with, the DIY scene, which I think, it did die off for a little bit.
Sure.
And it's kind of making a comeback where I think it's going to allow artists who fall into that, if you don't fall into an algorithm, you don't exist type of thing.
Yeah.
It's going to bring those artists to the forefront. I mean, and that's kind of what I try to do here is artists that I feel other people should fucking know about, or the ones that I will welcome on the show. If I think your fucking music should stand on its own and fuck not falling into an algorithm, let's go. Like let's
Yeah.
fucking go. Like, let's get it out there. And I think there is a really good, I'm seeing it with the younger generation that I get to see come into the record store all the time and talk about music and doing these more, DIY shows and stuff. And like, yeah, okay, bring it back. Bring back the VFW, bring back the Elks Lodges that were gone for so long. Like,
sure.
and just do it. To pay the $50 to rent the fucking room for fucking 2 hours from the Elks Club.
Yeah.
And put on a show.
I've been seeing it here too, that it's definitely happening. And, there was like, I lived in Philly for a decade, and I noticed post COVID, there was always this influx. You'd play these houses on like basically like on the Temple campus or over on like the Penn campus, where you'd get asked to play this house show and you'd play it, and maybe you'd go there one other time and then you'd never see it again. But they always existed. And there was like, next semester, there's a different one. And the next year, there's a different one. And I feel like COVID torpedoed that, where like there was no one to sort of pass those batons, where it was like, hey, you can do house shows. You don't have to rely on, fancy booking people. You don't have to play at a bar. You could just do this in your, like, don't tell your landlord. You can just do this.
Yeah.
I
was doing them during COVID in my backyard.
That's great. I mean, good for get all that air in there. But yeah, I feel like that was sort of lost. And I think it's like, I mean, I hope it's coming back in like a good way. A lot of things in my mind, I just have such fond memories of being a part of like a DIY community, and like having artists come through that then like almost become like, they're not local because they're on tour. I saw Deer Tick. You know Deer Tick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That dude played my college. He played houses. There were two houses that did shows where I went to school, which was Kutztown, Pennsylvania. There were my freshman year, we had two houses. One was called Pim Pim Panda. The other one was the Foxhole. I saw him play there probably 10 times just in my freshman year. He was always coming through. And it was like he had become like a part of our community almost.
Yeah.
And
he felt comfortable. He felt wanted. He felt needed.
Yeah.
And
then, it's the type of thing that like, then you get to see these people. And I know some people probably think like, oh, I don't want to let those people go. They're our special thing. But the way that I always saw it was like, you get to see these careers flourish.
Yeah.
And you helped foster that through a community, like through a real community. And I always thought that was so beautiful.
Well,
and
there is a little bit of selfishness when it comes to music, right? When people think they find something and it belongs to, and really it does. I tell artists, when you put a song out into the world, it no longer belongs to you. Someone else has already taken it and it belongs to them, and they're going to be selfish about it. But the fact that it's out there, but there is, I think all of us at some point had a band or an artist that we loved that broke, and then it no longer belonged to you, and you kind of felt slighted about it. I think we've all had that, when artists get big, but at the same time, man, good for them.
Yeah. It's, I have friends now that are off doing really cool things, and, like big things. And there's this like twofold inside of me where I'm just like, fuck, how did it work for them? Like, fuck. But then at the same time, I'm like, fuck, it worked for, like, look at them go. And like knowing full well too, that like everyone I know that's been doing music stuff for the last fucking 20 years, it's just such a grind, and I watch these people do, tour after tour after tour for pennies, and come back and work shit ass jobs and go back out, and come back and work shit ass jobs and go back out. Like, to see them succeed is like, it's like, yeah, they put in so much work. It's mind boggling how much work goes into success. if you're not just sort of handed it.
Well, yeah, it is that, having conversations with younger kids too. Like, I think there's a sort of like a 5-year gap in a certain age bracket right now where I can see that a lot of people think that you don't have to go out and work for it because you can just, maybe Instagram's going to break me or TikTok's going to break me, or we'll have a viral moment doing something and that'll make the band work, instead of going out, playing shows in places that you normally wouldn't play in Lafayette, Louisiana. And, they just don't understand that. And you have to, the more you do it, the more you open, other people's ears that have never heard you before. That's actually how you're going to get it by working hard. Very few people in this world will ever have something just land in their lap and you're going to be an instant success. Like, it's just not going to happen that way. But if you put in the work and the hard work and the dedication, and you can do things, like you can take a step to a next level. You don't have to I always say there's only room for 25 big artists, right? There's the top 25. You think about that. There's the top 25. That's it. Those are the fucking millionaires. And the rest are kind of wanting to get there. They'll never get there. They may have one song that for a moment, and then everything else just drops them back down. So you kind of have to understand you're not one of those top 25 going into it. You can work hard enough and get to a certain point where, hey, maybe I can do this and be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think something that maybe some people miss, and maybe you just have to be like built for it or something. I don't know, but it's so much fun.
Yeah.
like the sense of discovery and adventure that comes with all of the sort of like work that has to happen and all the struggle and all the, you come away with it with experiences that you would never have just sitting in your apartment waiting for a song to go viral on TikTok,
Yeah.
I just this past weekend, I've had shows right now. I'm an adult. I can't exactly just quit my job and tour. I have bills. It sucks.
Yeah.
But in lieu of being able to tour, I've had shows out of town every weekend for the past, I counted. It was like 11 in a row. I forget. So I think we're on week 7. And I played in Pittsburgh. It wasn't the best show. 6 people paid. That's not great. But I had experiences and I've taken things away from that trip that will guide me moving forward. So it's like, it's not a loss. It's a lot of time that I spent. It's a lot of time I spent on the road. But it's just like, if it's a big pot, it's just adding another scoop of water, it's doing its job.
Yeah. Well, I commend you for having that great outlook at that.
Look, I'm trying.
Listen, I know it's not easy, but trying to pull the positive out of something is, a lot of times it's hard, but if you can pull something from it, then I always say it's worth the experience.
Yeah. I mean, I did a tour last year. I got asked to play a festival in Detroit and I toured out to it. And I had some of the, like 3 or 4 days in a row, I had 3 or 4 of the worst shows I've ever played in my life, where I was just like, I don't know if I come back from this kind of thing while it was happening. Really sitting in a Dunkin' Donuts in Michigan being like, do I just cancel the rest of this and drive home? Like, I think I'm cooked. And now looking back on it and just seeing like, the hilarity that sort of ensues from those couple days has really brought me a lot of joy retelling people. Mm-hmm. But also it's just like the resiliency that I learned from those things. And the fact that like I lived through these terrible shows and sort of like bad moments, and it didn't make me want to stop all the way. Like at no point was I like, I quit completely. At the time I was like, I might want to just go home and try again later. but I was relaying this to a friend, and they were like, John, if any one of those things happened, I would never play music again. And I was like, yeah, well, this is just it. This is what it is. You know, win, lose or draw. It's like, I'm going to be out there playing shows, because it's the good so desperately outweighs the bad.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I think you're winning with River of Blood. So more people will hear it, more people will find it, more people will love it, and it will, make everything. Sometimes when you're like, is it worth it? It will make it all worth it in the end. I
know because of our current, thank you for saying that, by the way. That's very kind of you. And it's that type of thing where it's like the instant gratification, I went into this, the last record I put out, really, like, when things don't change your life immediately, it's, especially nowadays, it can feel daunting. And especially at the time, I was feeling like, well, I'm out of time, so I wouldn't let anything grow. But so much of this has to be like, you have to work at it. And now I have this product, this record that I'm proud of. And just because it's more than 2 months old now doesn't mean it goes away. I've discovered a lot of my favorite records years and years after they come out. It's like that, just because they've come out 20 years ago doesn't mean it's any less valuable to me now.
It's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to, it's just this path now where it's like, it's all part of the journey.
Well, I'm glad
you're so corny.
It's totally fine. I'm so glad you can see that it's the journey, right? It's that I'll make it corny. It's not the destination, it's the journey.
It's the journey.
Yeah. So, but you and I can definitely be here for much longer. So we'll make this that we can do this again sometime, to not get all the information out. So
sure, that'd be great.
Before we move into our final segment, I want to give you the opportunity right now to tell the entire audience how it is to keep up with what you're doing, where you're going, all your fine handles, and where to go purchase the album, or drop a note, say hello, something, tell them how much it means to them. But yeah, so if you want, take the time right now to throw out all your handles and all that, I'd love you to do that.
Sure. So you can, look, we're all on the internet, and the apps are a depressing reality that we live in. So I'm on Instagram mostly, Galm, JOHM, GALM. But if you just search John Galm, you can find me as well. I post most of my show happenings and things like that on there. I also have links to basically a lot of just random stuff, like where you can purchase the record, and from Count Your Lucky Stars, that's a record label. You can Google it, you can find them. Every now and then, I guess I do have a Blue Sky. I never use it. I also have a Twitter. I never use that either. So really, just find me on Instagram, and you'll get to see pictures of me playing songs, and you'll get to hear a lot of random facts about how much I enjoy Dunkin' Donuts, and you'll see pinball scores that I put up in random places, because I love rolling into a random spot with a pinball machine and getting my name on the board somewhere. Yeah. Also, best way to buy a record. I know I said Count Your Lucky Stars, but come see me. I'll be playing a lot of places on the East Coast, and maybe some others not on the East Coast within the rest of the year and throughout next year. And I'd really like to see it, because I very much enjoy doing what I get to do. And I'd love to do it when you're also there. So come on by.
Awesome. Well, we're in our final segment. Our final segment is our weekly threes. Okay. So it's 3 things that you're listening to that you would like other people to check out. You give your 3, then I give my 3.
Oh boy. Does it have to be, is it all music?
Yeah, it's music, music, what you've been listening to.
Got it. Okay. So I've been listening to I don't know how to say it exactly, the Cossey sisters. Kossy. They were the album I found on the internet is called Bowling Green and Other Folk Songs from the Southern Mountains. It came out in 1956. They're three sisters singing like Appalachian folk songs. A lot of traditional folk music there. Beautiful voices. Lots of people dying in the songs. Lots of murder. Lots of banjo. just really great music for feelings.
Murderous?
Yeah, no, just I really love. I have a very fond. Do we do one to one, or do I do all three right
You
away?
do all three right away, man.
All right. Number 2, I guess then would be Resonance by Bill Fox. Bill Fox is an outsider, sort of hidden figure within the alt rock world, the indie rock world. He put out a record this year though called Resonance, and it is very good. It's somewhere between Bob Dylan and Guided by Voices. Is the best way I'd describe it. He is also from Ohio, so that's probably why I go to Guided by Voices. Anyway, he's just really good. He's very good, and he's very sort of hidden about. He's a bit of an anomaly. Number 3, God damn, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just like scrolling through things. What have I been listening to? I will say, Connie Francis died this week. So Connie Francis was a singer from the 1960s, or 50s.
First female to ever be number 1 on Billboard charts.
There you go. And she has a lovely voice, and she sings some devastatingly sad. She's someone you can hear the pain in her voice as she's singing these songs. So, and then some songs are just incredibly fun, like Lipstick on Your Collar, which has, bar none, the best guitar solo I've ever heard in a song. At least top 5. Go back and listen to it. Check it out. It's fantastic. But Who's Sorry Now and Among My Souvenirs and Where the Boys Are. Oh, boy. She's just got such a beautiful voice, and it cuts through you like a knife. R.I.P. to Connie. Those would be my 3.
All right. Awesome. So my 3 for this week. My first one is an artist by the name of Takenobu, Takenobu. He's a cellist and composer out of Atlanta. He's also done some great cover songs on cello too. Name of the album I was listening to is called Reversal. Just really good stuff. Check it out. We're all over the place here with great music that we like. So it's if I recommend it, you better go fucking listen to it. Number 2 is a band called Paper Flowers. The name of the album is Dandelion. They're like alt rock from the UK. Really just good in your face rock music. And last but not least is a band called Empty Atlas. The name of the album is Curios. They're, I mean, we got a genre label, I guess indie rock from Mississippi, I guess I would say. But yeah, those are my 3 for this week.
Cool. I'm excited to hear those.
Well, you better listen to them.
Well, you said I have to.
Yeah.
So.
No, but John, first and foremost, a huge thank you for being here today, sharing some wisdom and some great stories with us. And secondly, huge thank you for creating the music that actually brought us together. That to me is what's so important. Your artistry is not lost. It's not out there in the world, just floating around with no one hearing it or getting to it. So thank you so much for creating the art that brought us together and made us, I feel like I've known you forever, and it's been an hour and a half. So thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome. This has been a true delight. And I like you said, I could talk to you for the next hour and a half again. And, we just be here prattling on.
Well, I can't wait to hit end and hear the off the record stories too. So,
oh gosh, yeah.
But we're gonna let the listeners go.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you so much. And everybody out there in the world, you know what time it is now. It's time to go out, listen to John Galm, and have a great fucking time.
It's the summer after work and you're still dreaming. Oh, the angles on your face are getting worse. Windowless in June, you spent your Thursday afternoon agape at nothing. It's the summer after work and you're still freezing. Oh, the air conditioners were left you a blur. A humid 92 beset a speckling of dew. You're sweating, shivering. When I found you in the drawer, you were waiting there forever. I can't feel you anymore, but now I fear you more than ever. It's the summer after work and you get angry. Oh, it's 10 years gone, what's only 15 more? Ego's black and blue, you thought you'd be somebody who would be somebody. Summer after work and you've been drinking. Oh, when they found you by the stairs, you didn't stir. Led you to your room, hangovers burning into view. Thank God it's Friday. When I found you in the drawer,
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.